Right now, somewhere in the world, a man is standing in a store, frozen in front of a shelf of candles, wondering if this one smells romantic or like a hotel lobby. He's texted three friends. He's no closer to a decision. The candle costs $14. The stakes feel life-altering. Here's the question nobody asks about that man. Where does this impulse come from? The wanting to bring something back, the need to present an object and say, without saying it, I was thinking about you. I came back. That man isn't doing something modern. He's doing something so old it doesn't have a beginning. Let's go back. Not to Egypt, not to Rome. Back to before writing, before cities, before agriculture. Gift giving in our species isn't a cultural invention. It's biological. It shows up in every human society ever studied, regardless of geography or contact with other cultures. That means it didn't evolve separately everywhere. It evolved once in our shared ancestors, and it mattered enough to survive everything since. The technical term is mate provisioning, and the evidence goes back roughly 1.8 million years, before Homo sapiens, before Neanderthals, back to Homo erectus. At sites across Africa and Eurasia, researchers find evidence of food sharing that wasn't communal. It was specific. A male acquiring something valuable and carrying it back to a specific female and her offspring. Not the general pot. To her. Evolutionary biologists argue this behavior only makes sense if the male had some confidence the offspring carried his genetic material. Otherwise, why bother? The risk, the effort, the food carried back, none of it makes sense as investment in a stranger's children. It only makes sense as investment in a relationship. I chose you. This is the evidence. The first human gift was almost certainly food. Think about what that meant 1.8 million years ago. Someone had gone into a dangerous world, risked being eaten, spent hours in pursuit and exhaustion, and instead of eating it all, carried part of it back. To you, specifically. But at some point, humans started bringing back things with zero caloric value. Useless things. This is where the story turns strange. Around 100,000 years ago, something new appears in the record. Personal ornaments. Pierced shells. Ochre-stained beads. Objects modified not to cut or dig, but to be worn and looked at. The oldest confirmed examples. Small nacreous shells with deliberately drilled holes coated in red and yellow ochre, come from caves in Morocco and Algeria. These shells were found far from any coastline. Someone had carried them, not for food, because they were beautiful and worth giving. Researchers have found matching shell types at sites hundreds of kilometers apart, suggesting trade networks connecting groups who rarely met face-to-face. Which means, somewhere, a man received a shell from a trader, thought of a specific woman, and brought it to her. The world's first I saw this and thought of you. That's 100,000 years old, give or take. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer courtship reveal a consistent pattern. Men don't typically court with things that are easy to get. They bring things that cost something. Effort, skill, risk. This is costly signaling theory. A signal only means something if it's hard to fake. Anyone can claim to be reliable. A gift that required real effort proves it. The effort is the message. This is why ancient men didn't hand women a fistful of grass. Grass is everywhere. It proves nothing. A mammoth tusk carved into a pendant and carried 200 kilometers proves something. The gift was a resume. Look at what I'm capable of and look who I choose to give it to. Around 40,000 years ago, men stopped just finding objects and started making them. The famous Venus figurines, carved from ivory, limestone, bone, fired clay, appear across an enormous range, from France to Siberia, made by the thousands. Scholars still debate their exact purpose. Fertility symbols, objects of desire, ritual tools tied to childbirth, but nobody disputes that they took real skill and hours of focused labor to produce. Long before flower shops existed, people were putting skilled effort into small objects whose only purpose was to be given. Not every ancient gift could be held in your hand. Among many documented hunter-gatherer societies, one of the most significant things a man could offer was demonstrated willingness to take on danger specifically for her, sleeping between her and the cave entrance, staying alert when something moved outside. Protection aimed consistently at one person, rather than diffused across the group, is a resource. Choosing to direct it is a choice. Women were selecting for men who made that choice reliably. Not once, dramatically, but over and over. The most attractive man in the ancient world probably wasn't the one who killed the biggest animal once. It was the one who came back every time. This maps directly onto modern research on long-term attraction. Not the grand display, but reliability. The sense that someone chooses you again and again in the ordinary days. This connects to something called alloparenting. In many hunter-gatherer societies, courting men brought gifts not just to the woman, but to her children, her family, her social circle, provisioning the network, not just the individual. That's not inefficiency, it's intelligent signaling. A woman evaluating a partner isn't just asking, does he bring things for me? She's asking, does he understand I'm embedded in relationships that matter to me? Men who grasped this tended to build more sustained partnerships than men who didn't. Which is why the modern man who brings flowers for her but ignores her friends, or who makes one grand gesture and then disappears, is failing at something very old. The gift isn't the thing. The pattern of the gift is the thing. Ochre deserves its own mention. This iron oxide pigment, red, orange, yellow, was used by humans for at least 300,000 years, found in burial rituals, body decoration, and cave paintings. Sites in South Africa have yielded grinding tools for processing it dating back 100,000 years. An ochre-stained shell wasn't just an object, it was a worked object. Someone took an extra step because they thought it was worth it. Arguably the origin of wrapping paper, roughly 100,000 years ahead of the pharmacy gift wrap aisle. Gift-giving wasn't one-directional. The archaeological record skews toward documenting male-to-female gifts partly because of how historical interpretation has framed the genders, but anthropological evidence from living hunter-gatherer societies shows exchange flowing both ways. Women gave skillfully prepared food, crafted objects, plant medicines drawn from specialized knowledge, and social capital. Introductions, advocacy within the group. The types of gifts differed, leaning less on risk-taking and more on accumulated skill, but they were still deliberate transfers of value aimed at a specific person. The exchange was never simply about men provisioning passive women, it was two people signaling in the clearest language available before language existed, you are worth the effort. Large predator parts, teeth, claws, ivory, feathers, show up consistently as objects worn, traded, and given. A cave lion claw wasn't lying around for the taking. Obtaining one meant doing something with a cave lion, an animal with no interest in being approached. A man who could give one away had done something dangerous and had the confidence to part with the proof. That combination has never stopped being attractive. Only the specific markers have changed. Then farming arrived, roughly 10,000 years ago, and reorganized the gift entirely. New categories emerged. Cultivated foods prepared with skill, woven textiles, worked metal, stored goods that hunter-gatherer life couldn't accumulate. Gift exchange started formalizing into bride wealth, dowries, and betrothal gifts, ritualized versions of the same ancient provisioning instinct. In ancient Mesopotamia, texts reference beer, fine textiles representing enormous skilled labor, and rings or bracelets carrying legal weight as tokens of agreement. In ancient Egypt, gifts of food, clothing, and cosmetics appear throughout the record, alongside some of the earliest surviving love poetry. Full of comparisons to rare and beautiful things, descriptions of what the speaker would bring. The objects differ from what we choose today. The emotional logic doesn't. In ancient China, elaborate courtship gift rituals unfolded across multiple formal stages, with wild geese featured prominently as symbols of lifelong fidelity. In ancient Rome, handing someone an apple was a recognized declaration of romantic interest, tied to associations with Venus and fertility. She could accept it or refuse it, and everyone understood what that meant. A man in Rome handed a woman an apple because words felt too risky. A man today sends a meme for the same reason. The medium changed, the mechanics didn't, and ancient men didn't always get it right. Egyptian love poems are full of gestures that were misread, offerings that fell flat, Men who thought something was significant and found the other person unmoved. That's both humbling and reassuring. Ancient men weren't running some perfectly calibrated system we've since lost. They were guessing, same as the man frozen in the candle aisle. They just didn't have 3 friends to text about it. The behaviors trace forward intact. Flowers carry the same root logic as a shell carried from a coast someone had never seen. Useless, perishable, valuable, precisely because its only function is to say, I thought of you. A man working months to afford something she wants is making the same calculation as the hunter who took a risk because the return would be worth it. A man remembering something she mentioned in passing months ago and showing up with it is demonstrating the exact social intelligence ancient women selected for. Does he see me, specifically? Or just a category of person? The gift has always been a test, not a manipulative one, an honest one. Do you pay attention? Do you come back? Did you think of me when you went into the dangerous world? Those questions are 200,000 years old. Nobody has found a better answer than a deliberate act of return. I went out, I came back. I brought you something. The man in the candle aisle has been there before. 100,000 years ago holding a stained shell, wondering if it was good enough, if she'd understand what it meant. She probably did. She almost always did.